At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, noon to 3 Eastern each and every weekday right here on Westwood One Sports, Sirius XM Channel 375, the Westwood One Sports app, and all the great radio affiliates across the country. It's Bleck and Abdalla, live from Chicago. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. If you want to join us today, you can call us at 310-840-4910. The NBA All-Star Weekend has come and gone. Abdalla, did you enjoy what you saw over the weekend? The big mid-season celebration for the NBA really got the juices going, right?
I enjoyed what I saw after I knew it was happening. I turned on my TV thinking I was going to be like, all right, let's sit down. Let's get settled. I'm about to watch a skills competition, a three-point contest. And I was like, wait a minute. This has been on for 2 hours already?
We can't be the only ones today
we weren't.
who were surprised that NBA All-Star Saturday night took place in the afternoon.
No.
And that the All-Star game took place in the afternoon because we got to make way for tape delay Olympic coverage.
Now, I get it.
Boy.
I get it.
What the hell?
During every commercial where they're like, Ant-Man, Wembanyama, everybody wants to rule the world, the greatest commercial in NBA All-Star history.
Hey, props to NBC for that. That thing was stuck in my head all weekend long.
For the last 3 weeks, it's been stuck in my head.
But at no point did I know that the games were on in the afternoon.
And at no point did I look at the screen and go, 4 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Eastern.
What the hell?
That's when this is going to start?
What's going on?
I was just singing about Ant-Man and Wembanyama and that everybody wants to rule the world. I didn't know that this was starting early, but regardless of it, Saturday night is always lackluster. It always is. And it felt like, once again, besides the three-point contest and Damian Lillard coming back from a ruptured Achilles and winning the three-point contest, which I didn't get to see. I just saw online him holding a trophy and be like, wait a minute, did this already happen? Or is this an AI image of him winning the trophy?
I definitely had to double check to make sure it was real. I mean, to set the scene, okay, so this was my Saturday afternoon. What took place in Chicago and in most of the Midwest this weekend is something that we call, in other parts of the country, if you don't really have winter, maybe it's not something that you realize. But we had something this weekend called false spring.
Yeah.
Where the temperatures were in the 50s, touching the 60s for most of the weekend, including today. Should be a really nice day here in the city of Chicago. We're thinking highs in the 60s,
Oh, it's beautiful.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's all fake.
Yo.
It's not going to last, and spring doesn't start until the end of May.
No.
Here in Chicago.
Not yet.
So it's false spring this weekend. So what does one do after a long, cold winter with a lot of salt and dirt on the streets? What do people do in the city?
Go outside.
Well, right, and more specifically with your car, what is something
Get it
that
washed.
You get it washed, right? It's a first nice day in the city, so I think to
You
myself,
sit in a car wash line for half an hour.
I'm watching some Olympic coverage, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go and get the car washed. And I know it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's going to take forever because everyone else is doing it. Because why? It's false spring, right? Okay, so I get in the car and I drive past this place not too far from my house. It's one of those where they have people who hand wash the car and
Look
it goes.
at you.
No. It's like there's little stations, right?
White glove service, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Okay,
Excuse me.
I
didn't know those were fancy pants you were wearing.
Listen, if you want the machines to ding up your car and to mess up everything, by all means.
Me.
But it's one of those, it's quick service, it's got little stations, and they do a really nice job, and it's like, it takes maybe at most 15 to 20 minutes. That's
Yeah.
it. You're in and out, right? I drive by the car wash place, and there is a line of 16 cars on the street waiting to turn in.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, all right, there's 16. I'm doing the quick math. I'm like, this won't take more than like 45 minutes. But I've got all afternoon. Why? Because I'm expecting All-Star Saturday Night to be on at night. So I'm there, and it's 4:15. And I'm waiting. First of all, I was at the car wash place
4:15,
for about 2 hours.
Yeah, do the math.
So
10 minutes a car, 16 cars.
I'm sitting there, and as I'm sitting there, I see pop up that Damian Lillard wins the three-point contest. And I thought it was fake. I thought it was something from the past that someone accidentally retweeted. I didn't understand what was going on, and I'm like, hold up. I kind of planned my evening thinking that I would be back home by at least 6 o'clock, settle in, get some dinner, and then watch All-Star Saturday Night. And the entire event was over by the time I got home from the car wash.
It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And I understand.
And daylight was still going. Like, the day was still cooking.
Here's what's ridiculous about this. We could have paid attention.
Well, no, I know. It is what we do.
No,
but I do feel like many people are probably in our
Okay.
situation on a Saturday afternoon. I've got errands to run. I've got soccer practice to go to. I got to do this. I got to pick this up, get some flowers for the wife, do all this stuff, right?
Exactly.
It's Valentine's Day. I understand that people are busy. I just at no point considered that this event was taking place in the afternoon.
I have a 3-year-old daughter. Valentine's Day is really a daytime activity. We did some, my daughter and I, we did some activities, and then we made a card for my wife and all that kind of stuff. And we did some stuff like that, and all that good stuff, right? Nighttime Valentine's Day is more putting the daughter to the bed. Let's order something nice and let's sit down and, we watch a movie. I've got All-Star Saturday Night on the other TV. We're doing all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Little did I know that much like you did, I'm just, on my phone, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Did he already win this?
Yeah.
Now, I said to my wife, I said to her, much like you, I thought the same thing. Am I a bad sports radio host? You and I do this for a living, and we didn't know the time that this started. We talked about going in about this event, 3 days leading up to the events. First of all, that how bad it was going to be, but that the NBA did this a disservice. NBC did themselves a disservice by putting this on for tape-delayed Olympic coverage.
In replace of. They had to get to 7 o'clock Eastern to then get to primetime Olympic coverage. I'm shocked.
Tape-delayed Olympic coverage. And I understand. It's a big investment for the networks. You got to get Tirico out there. You got to get him in the cabin. You got to get him to talk about the skiing or whatever was going on that day. But you also have to understand, It all already happened. You can take one night off for live coverage of NBA All-Star Weekend. This is also your marquee event that you paid a lot of money for the rights to. And that I feel like you and I, like a lot of other people, had no idea that this was taking place. And because of that, I was watching it. I watched the dunk contest and was like, okay, I assume that the All-Star game is also going to be earlier. And sure enough, 5 o'clock Eastern, this thing starts. It's like, what are you doing? This game started at 2 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah.
This game is in LA.
Yes.
Starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Feel the vibes. Afternoon basketball. Why not?
You want to wonder why there were so many empty seats? Because no one wanted to go to this 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the West Coast. No one wants to be inside.
All right, it's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. So the format itself, did it work? Did it not work? I think you had the 4 games, which each were 12 minutes alone. 3 of the games were competitive. The final game, where you crowned the champion of the All-Star game, it was not competitive, mainly because the old head team, the team with LeBron and Durant, that team played 3 straight games, so they were tired by the end of it. Team Stars beat Team Stripes 47-21. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's very anticlimactic that the world team didn't get to the final game. So, I mean, that's one.
Yeah.
I do think the idea of eliminating the play to a certain number type of thing, I do like that. I do like that they actually played competitive quarters. And some of the players were actually giving a damn. You know, Wembanyama seemed to really care. And I think Kevin Durant was on point last week when he called out the Euros, namely Luka and Jokic, because those two seem to not give a flying blank when it came to the game last night. So I think to some extent people may think that this worked. I think it still needs more tweaking, and there's different things you can add to this. I think it's very convoluted to have all-stars named for the conferences, yet then you mix up the teams for the actual all-star game. If you could find a way to have a format like this, but it is the Eastern and Western conferences playing against each other, maybe you get 3 teams out of that mix. I don't know how you would do it. Maybe you do an East, a West, and a Rising Stars team. I don't know how you would have that solution, but I do think the Team USA versus the world, it did miss the mark because the world team didn't get to the championship game. And that's what they were hoping for, is that the world team would get to the championship, and then you would have that epic final game to then crown the winner. But when you get the 2 U.S. teams playing against each other, I don't know if that really does anything for anyone.
I would like to think that I'm right about this, that the format didn't matter. The format didn't lead to competitive basketball, that the players didn't care leading into the game. The players didn't care that in the locker room it wasn't LeBron and Anthony Edwards and Durant and, you know, the other guys getting together and like Kawhi Leonard saying, guys, we got it. We're the Americans here. We're representing the U.S. Like, we got to show the fans that we're better than the rest of the world, you know, the Europeans, the other guys on the team that we're playing against, either the Stars or the Stripes, have to win this, right? We either have to make it so it's the 2 teams playing each other at the end, or it's one of us winning at the end. The reason the game worked is because one guy, Victor Wembanyama, took it upon himself to say, I'm playing hard.
Yeah.
I care. And when he decided to care, that's when everybody stood up a little straighter, and Anthony Edwards said, oh, if you're going to care, I'm going to care. And because he cared, then it was a trickle-down effect. Because he cared, Kawhi cared. And because Kawhi cared, then another guy cared, and another guy cared. And because you don't want to get shown up. And so, like, because what, and you could see at the end of one of the games, when like a game winner went in, you saw like off to the side of the camera, Wembanyama threw his hands up. And
he was not happy.
Like, he was not happy, right? And so when one guy, all it takes is one guy to care. Like when it was in Chicago, one guy cared, and it was Joel Embiid. And one guy cared, and it got under LeBron's skin. All it takes is one guy, and I liked it. I don't care, like, if it goes back to East versus West next year or in a couple years or whatever it is, I hope it's just one guy. And if it's Victor Wembanyama every year, if he's going to be the next guy, when LeBron retires, if Victor Wembanyama can stay healthy because of his size, and guys his size tend to not stay healthy and all that kind of stuff, if he's going to be the next face of the NBA, or if he's going to be the next guy, I hope he sets a precedent of this game is going to matter, and I'm going to be at least the one who tries.
So Adam Silver spoke over the weekend as all of the events were taking place for the All-Star Game in Los Angeles. The Clippers were the team hosting it this time. So Adam Silver, a part of a lot of the conversation that took place this weekend was about the current state of the NBA and tanking, and how there are so many teams this season actively not trying to win basketball games. This is Adam Silver on Saturday talking about tanking and the incentives and how they are not aligned with the teams.
The incentives are not necessarily matched here. I think that the tradition in sports where the worst performing team receives the first pick from their partners, when any economist comes and looks at our system, they always point out you have the incentives backwards there. That doesn't necessarily make sense.
So that's one aspect of it, right? Like, so in the NFL, you don't quite have the same situation. Yes, you've seen teams in years, and including this past season with the Las Vegas Raiders. Max Crosby wanted to finish out the season, and they did not want Crosby to play to secure the number one draft pick. It does feel like it is a major issue in the NBA, even though it could happen in the NFL, and we've seen it happen in the NFL. People don't complain about it the way they complain about the NBA. So that's one aspect, is that how do you fix this situation? You have a lottery for the draft. You in recent years have smoothed the top of the odds for the teams who are worst in the league to a place where now many teams feel like they have a shot at either a top 1 or top 4 pick in the NBA draft. Here's more from Adam Silver on Saturday talking about the motivations of tanking.
It's not what the fans want at the end of the day, although my caveat is, and this is where teams are in a difficult place, many of you in this room have written, and understandably, about our teams, that the worst place to be, for example, is to be a middle-of-the-road team, either be great or be bad, because then that will help you with the draft. And so in many cases, you have fans of those teams, maybe it's not what they want to pay for to see poor performance on the floor, but they're actually rooting for their teams in some cases to be bad, to improve their draft chances.
And I think that's something that Adam Silver mentions, that if you're a smart sports fan, this is something that came into the consciousness of sports fans, I think like 10 to 15 years ago, where it was very obvious that people who were smart were like, I don't want my team to just be in the middle, winning some games, scraping into the playoffs. Like, That's not it. You need to lose to get really bad, to then get that great player, to then jump back up to the top. And the most famous or infamous case of this in the NBA, it's got to be infamous, right? Because it didn't work out. The Philadelphia 76ers.
Trust the process.
Trust the process 76ers, where they were blatantly tanking for multiple years to secure number one draft picks to then hopefully one day rise up. The Daryl Morey 76er team, right? Like, Daryl Morey and his philosophy to accomplish that task and how it worked in Philly, it just never came through.
No, it didn't. And I don't think that there's a real solution, because if you look at what happened last week, we talked about it a little bit, where the Jazz were fined $500,000 and the Pacers $100,000. Like, that's not enough. What's $500,000 to an NBA team? It's nothing. These teams are worth billions and billions of dollars. You want to hand out a real fine? Like, $10 million, that's a fine. Like, real fines, take away draft picks. That's a real, and like Adam Silver said, that he would think about that, or something harsher than $500,000, because that's $100,000 to a team is nothing.
Right, and then that's where, like, Morey now running the 76ers, he's in a spot where they had all these pieces who haven't actually ever won anything. Joel Embiid has been close, but then he always gets hurt. And it's like, what did the process really ever get you?
But then you look at a team like the Thunder, and it worked.
It did.
Like, it works for teams. But
they didn't necessarily tank. They just traded away great players to get back first-round draft picks.
But how do you? But then you have to use those picks. Like if the Cavs aren't really bad and get the number 1 pick, they don't get LeBron. You know, if you're not bad enough, you can't dig your way out of this. Like if you're bad, and if he talks about obliterating the draft, what's the incentive to be like? If you're bad, how are you going to get out of the hole of being bad if you don't get draft picks? If a player's not going to go to your team and we just end up in free agency for these young players, how are these teams going to get out of it if no one wants to go to their team?
So how do we fix this? How do you think this could be fixed in the NBA? There's a lot that the product for the NBA game is not what it used to be. There's a lot of us that are holding on to the great vibes and thoughts of the 90s when the NBA was at its pinnacle. When you had TV ratings were up, everyone was talking about it. You had rivalries, you had great players, you knew the storylines, and everything kind of aligned. And that's when the NBA was at its best. And you're reminded of it each and every time you tune into one of these events like this weekend. John Tesh was out there performing Round Ball Rock live for everyone this weekend at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's the theme music that people love from back in the day when the league actually was doing something. Now it's, and all anyone wants to do is complain about the NBA product. So what do you do to change this? What do you do to fix it? What do you do with tanking? How do you solve this issue? You can join us at 310-840-4910. One more thought from Adam Silver on tanking. The long-term, short-term effects on it. We will hear from Adam Silver coming up next.
Could Kyler Murray be next year's Sam Darnold? In a new home, we're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Adam Silver spoke over the weekend at the NBA All-Star Weekend. This is what Silver had to say about tanking, the short and long-term effects on the league.
Focusing on the here and now, the behavior we're seeing from our teams, and doing whatever we can to remind them of what their obligation is to the fans and to their partner teams. But number two, as I also said in that statement, the competition committee started earlier this year re-examining the whole approach to how the draft lottery works. And ultimately, any changes will require a vote of the Board of Governors, so it then will need to go in front of the board. But there have been lots of different ideas out there over the years, not just necessarily changing the draft lottery odds yet once again, but looking at whether there's a better system here to try to align incentives.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Our phone number is 310-840-4910. Can we fix the game, the NBA? The game that I love? Can we fix it? I'll take your ideas. Call us at 310-840-4910. If you've got a great idea on how the NBA can change for the future, let us know. Can we fix it? Is this something we could do?
Yeah, I mean, you can. They're not going to do it, though. Like, the problem is there's too much. There's just too much. There's too many games. They want to add 2 more teams. That's going to be too many teams. And they've watered down the product with an in-season tournament, with too many playoff teams, with the play-in tournament for the play-in games. They've tried to turn themselves. Adam Silver has an obsession with European soccer. He does. He does.
He really does. And it's like every element of the league he wants to turn into European soccer.
European soccer, the English Premier League, European soccer has in-season tournaments that combine the English Premier League, which is like the top of the tops over in Europe and London and over there in England, and they combine it with like the equivalent, not really of their G League, but of their second tier. And so what they do is they have a tournament, and like these big clubs go play at the smaller clubs, and it's like an in-season tournament that goes on for most of the regular season. And clubs will play these smaller clubs, and it's fun. And sometimes these smaller clubs beat these bigger clubs, and it's like a big deal. You can't replicate that in the NBA. But that's what he's trying to do with like an in-season tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to start to explain that conversation, you have to, and I'm sure there are some people here in America that don't know how it works. The reason you can do that in Europe is that each country has multiple levels of professional teams.
Yeah.
So here in America, for the most part, we have top tier professional teams, and then everything below, for the most part, in most sports, it's collegiate.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's college athletics are bigger here than they are overseas because in many situations, in many sports, we're now seeing in basketball, but mainly in soccer, it's that if you're good enough when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you're not going to university to play. You're going pro. And you're becoming a kid in an academy for Real Madrid or a kid in an academy for Manchester City.
Yeah.
And what happens is it's a completely different structure that the American sports product can never achieve, because for that to work, like the idea Adam is laying out, that Adam Silver is trying to strive for, you would have to have multiple professional leagues underneath the NBA to then create a system where relegation is something that could happen, which blows the American mind, right? Relegation.
Well, they'd never do that.
But that's how you eliminate tanking.
Yes.
Because in European professional sports and in European soccer specifically, there is no tank. Every game is competitive because every goal matters. Every loss, every win, every game matters because it's all going towards something at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So you never get a situation like we do here with the NBA where you've got the Brooklyn Nets playing, name a bad team, the Utah Jazz, and then both teams are resting all of their players because both teams want to lose the game. You don't get that in European soccer because even if you're bad, you are trying your hardest to stay at the current level that you're at so you don't get relegated. I know. We're on national talk radio. It's Bleck Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. It's a lot to... But if you're someone who's watched soccer, you understand. Tanking is not something that takes place in European soccer.
No, so Adam Silver saw that no one was trying in the beginning of the season. So let's throw this regular season tournament in there where the winner gets a bunch of money, and maybe players will try in those games. Hasn't worked so far. But now you've got extra games... A couple extra games, because those games are regular season games, but except for the actual end of the tournament, which isn't the regular season games. But now we have a little bit of a break where a couple teams go to Vegas and they play these games, and then that breaks up the season. So now you've elongated the season a little bit.
But it's the same teams playing for the same thing.
Exactly.
It's stupid.
It doesn't
accomplish anything.
And then you've got a play-in tournament at the end of the season, so now more teams have a chance to make the playoffs, which you think would incentivize less teams to tank, but now more teams are still tanking because you've increased the odds of getting a number one pick at the back end of that, so now more teams are tanking on the back end for that. You've created this problem. The solution is you cut down on the games, because as you've elongated the season, you've in reality shortened the season.
Well, I don't think that changes your draft situation. I think
it doesn't.
I think the way to solve the issue that they're currently having with tanking and eliminating the race to the bottom would have to be eliminate the draft. If you eliminate the draft and every kid coming out of college is just a free agent, what would the incentive to lose be? There would not be any incentive to lose.
But the problem with that is there's no way, there's not going to be a way for the really bad teams to get out of being bad.
Or it protects the owners who don't want to try.
Exactly.
Because that's what it is. There's owners who are just skating by, but if you are exposed, because when the draft class comes out and you never go for the top players, then you will just always be a bad team.
You've got a situation where the NFL is basically perfect, where you can go from worst to first with a couple good draft picks, and you can flip your team around, and owners want to try because they see that basically if you can make the playoffs, you have a shot. And so teams actually want to try. a lot of teams are bad at trying, but at least they're trying, right? Like, you can't tell me that the Browns aren't trying. They're just bad at it. The Jets are trying.
Sure.
They're just bad at it. And then you've got on the other end of the spectrum, you've got baseball, where teams just aren't trying, and you know they're not trying because their payroll is basically 3 players on the Dodgers, making up the entire payroll of the White Sox or the Royals or any other team like that, the Pirates or any team like that. And you've got owners that basically just aren't trying, but they know they can still turn a profit because owning a team never depreciates. You can just always turn a profit. And the NBA is somewhere in the middle where owners cannot try and flip their team by getting a draft pick, but the way to do that is not trying, but it hurts the league. So you can't get rid of the draft because the second you get rid of the draft, you turn yourself into baseball.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. If you have an idea on how we can fix the NBA, you can call us at 310-840-4910. I also saw this news. It broke about 30 minutes ago. Sources tell ESPN that the Dolphins are releasing 8-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill has now been released. The Dolphins are cutting a lot of players today, releasing a lot of guys. They also released pass rusher Bradley Chubb and guard James Daniels. So clearing a lot of cap space. Just the release of Tyreek Hill will save the Dolphins $22.8 million against the salary cap next season. The Dolphins have cleared the deck with cap space, and now they've got a lot of money to spend. Jeff Hafley is the new head coach for the Miami Dolphins, and they are clearly moving in a different direction. We had the story from last week from Adam Schefter on ESPN.com, who suggested that the Dolphins want to trade Tua Tagovailoa. Finding a landing spot or a place to trade him to is, I think, the difficult part. So we'll also see on whether or not Tua could be a cap casualty at some point as well with the Dolphins, as they have a refresh and a restart now, and they've got a lot of cap space after the moves that are made today.
And the problem with that contract is it's such an albatross with Tua, is that the rumblings are that you're going to have to send a pick with Tua as opposed to somebody sending a pick to you.
Oh, who wasn't there a player earlier in last year's offseason that was in that situation and they just sat there? They were never moved?
Because their contract was so bad.
Who's the player I'm thinking of?
The player...
There was someone last offseason. I remember reporters being like, you have to add picks to it to move
because
this
their
guy.
contract is so bad, and that's the way Tua's contract is right now. And you see the Dolphins have one of the worst cap situations in the NFL, mostly because of Tua's contract. And moving off of Chubb and moving off of Tyreek Hill, it will help them. I mean, Hill only played in 4 games last season because of the injury. He had 1 touchdown last year, or 2 years ago in 2024. He played in all 17 games. He only had 6 touchdowns. The year before that, he played in 16 games. He had 13 touchdowns. That was a great year for him. He had almost 1,800 yards receiving, so that was his best year. But after that, it just completely fell off in 2024. Only 960 yards and 6 touchdowns. So, and after this injury, which was a gruesome injury this past year, 4 games, 1 touchdown. You just, after an injury like that, you just don't know how much he's got left. And so obviously he was the number 1 cap casualty that you were going to see, and they chose to make the move today.
Raj, is there another name you can think of? Raj is producing the show in Denver, Colorado. Is there someone else you can think of in as far as a team trying to trade, but they had to attach picks to it to remove the player from the team?
I can, guys. It's a little further back, but Brock Osweiler, who's here, my team, the Broncos, backing up Manning, got a huge contract from the Texans. It didn't work out, and they wanted to bail like after the first year and trade him, but his contract was terrible. The Browns had a ton of cap room that offseason, so basically Houston had to give the Browns a second-round pick to take Brock Osweiler's contract.
That's crazy. And that's what you could see happening with Tua this year, is that someone has to send a second-round pick or something like that with Tua, as opposed to someone saying, hey, we'll give you a second-round pick for Tua. No. It's going to be the opposite because of that contract.
It's Bleck Abdalla talking football with you at 310-840-4910. Could George Pickens be on the move this offseason? We'll talk about that next.
Will the Seahawks franchise tag Kenneth Walker, or could the Super Bowl MVP be on his way to a new team? We'll break down the options as they come to light on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
The NFL Network's Ian Rappaport said that the Cowboys are, quote, going to franchise tag wide receiver George Pickens and could be willing to trade him away for a second-round pick. So that's on the table. That's from Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. It's Bleck Abdalla hanging out with you, talking football on Westwood One Sports at 310-840-4910. So the Cowboys could be looking to move George Pickens. Franchise tags can be applied this week, I believe, right? Isn't the date tomorrow?
Yeah, it is.
To open up where teams can place the franchise tag. So we'll have a lot of coverage here on the show tomorrow on whether or not teams are going to use the tag, who is getting tagged, and whether or not that means you'll have a negotiation for a contract extension, or if someone like George Pickens, if he does get tagged by the Cowboys, will they do that in hopes to then trade him for something else to move him along?
I believe our wager was 2.5 players. I picked the over, you picked the under.
I went under, yeah.
You went under. So we have our little Bleck and Abdalla over-unders was set at 2.5.
What did we bet on it?
We do. It's just there.
Sandwiches?
It's just there.
Did you sandwiches?
No, it's just there. It's not.
There's nothing?
There's nothing. It's just there. It's just
Raj thinks we should bet soup on it.
I just get to tell you whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
It's just, and that's
bragging rights.
That is enough for me.
Bragging rights.
Telling you that I was right
yes.
and you were wrong is more than enough for me.
Yeah, it's your favorite thing.
It
Absolutely.
is. It really is.
Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So we've got that to look at for tomorrow in the NFL, and there's a lot going on in the National Football League. The Dolphins made some moves today, clearing some cap space. They released Bradley Chubb. They released Tyreek Hill. So that's out there as well. And we'll continue talking football with you here on Westwood One Sports. I did want to bring up this story I saw over the weekend. Manny Machado had some interesting comments to say about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We know here in the offseason, once again in baseball, teams are showing up to spring training.
Oh, yeah.
Pitchers and catchers have reported. There are games on the schedules. We're going to get some baseball here shortly in spring training. And the Dodgers, once again this offseason, spent big, right? Like, who's the biggest free agent on the market? Kyle Tucker. Okay, where does he sign? The Dodgers.
Yeah.
Once again, the Dodgers sign the best player on the free agency market. And so we get to a situation where the San Diego Padres are in camp, and Manny Machado was asked about the rival Los Angeles Dodgers continuing to spend and whether or not this is a good thing for Major League Baseball. Here's Manny Machado.
I love it. I love it. I mean, honestly, I think every team should be doing it. They figured out a way to do it, and it's great for the game, honestly. So I think every team has the ability to do it. I hope all 30 teams could learn from that.
So that was Manny Machado the other day in Padres camp. He loves it. They're their rivals, hated rivals, Padres and Dodgers. And Manny Machado knows what's up. If the Dodgers keep spending like this, it's good for everyone because every team should be spending what they can to get the biggest free agents. Manny Machado is one of those guys who signed a huge contract with the Padres years ago. Mm-hmm. This past offseason, this is from the article on ESPN.com from Jesse Rogers, our good friend from Chicago. He puts in the article, the Dodgers continue their spending spree this winter, pushing their payroll to approximately $400 million with the signings of Kyle Tucker, the best hitter on the market for 4 years, $240 million contract this season. So the rival, Manny Machado, thinks it's great for baseball. Is it great for baseball?
Yes and no. He's not wrong. He's not wrong, but it's bad for baseball. It's bad for baseball because it's going to lead to a lockout. It's bad for baseball because at the end of this season, when the collective bargaining agreement runs out at the end of December, that you're going to have a lockout because they're going to want a salary cap, and the players are going to want the owners to open up their books again and to say, show us that you're actually losing money because we don't believe you that you're losing money. And this is going to go like it did last time. And this lockout could actually last an entire season. That's the conversation, that this could actually last an entire season. That's why it's bad for baseball. Why Manny Machado is correct is because teams should be spending more. Now, I understand that every team cannot spend like the Dodgers, the Marlins, the White Sox, the Rays, the Rock. I get it. Teams cannot spend like the Dodgers. They just can't. But you can try to spend a little more. You can put a competitive roster out there. You don't have to be at the bottom. All it does is cost you money. You can't tell me, like, I understand, you don't have to spend like Steve Cohen. You don't have to spend like the Dodgers. You don't have to be there out there every single year and say, we're going to spend, and be in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes every single year. I understand that. But to blatantly go out there and tell your fans that we're just not going to be competitive every single year is a slap in the face. And then you wonder why your seats are empty. Well, that's why. Because you're telling your fans you don't care. That's why. When the owner of the White Sox here in Chicago, where we're broadcasting from, was asked if they were going to be in the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes, and he laughed it off, that's bad for baseball.
Yeah,
that's what's bad for baseball.
The problem isn't necessarily the Dodgers, and not everyone can, like, from what you were saying, not everyone can be the Dodgers.
No.
That's not the argument. The argument would be, if you're the bottom 10 teams, you got to put a little bit more effort into owning your franchise.
Exactly.
It's on those owners, and that's where I'm looking at Miami, Cleveland, Chicago, Washington, Chicago White Sox, Washington, the Athletics, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Colorado. Those are the bottom feeders who are not spending enough to be competitive. And that's the problem with baseball.
Like, we all know what Pittsburgh is going to do with Paul Skeens. They're going to trade him.
Eventually.
They're not going to sign him.
It's a harsh reality. That's what's going to happen.
And everybody in Pittsburgh with the Skeens jersey is not going to be able to wear it at a certain point. Like, you can wear it because he was a great player for you, if you loved him when he was there. But you're only going to have a finite amount of time with Skeens because he's going to want a huge contract that he absolutely deserves. And he is going to be a Yankee, or he's going to be a Dodger, or he's going to be a Met. And that's it. Because they're the only teams that are going to be willing to pay him. And your team is not. And that's what's unfortunate. Because your owner just doesn't want to. When he should be, he can. He absolutely can. It's not a can't. It's a won't. That's what's the problem with baseball.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Let's go to our official Olympic update here on Bleck and Abdalla as the Milan Cortina Olympic Games, the Winter Olympiad, is taking place in northeast Italy. Across the great country of Italy, we've got all these great Olympic athletes having a great time. I don't know if you saw this, Abdalla, as we get you your medal count. Norway, 27 medals. Italy, 22. The United States, 17. Did you also see the story from over the weekend? Not enough condoms in the Olympic Village.
Okay.
Did you see this?
This is
big news once again for the Olympic athletes. Not enough condoms.
Every 2 years, this is a problem. Summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter. It's always a problem. Can we get enough boxes out there?
All these young people thrown together in these barracks?
Yeah.
They use too many?
That's why I didn't feel bad for the guy that said he was cheating. Get back in the barracks, man. Grab a box and go.
Not the cheating at the competition, cheating on his girlfriend.
No. We've got another cheating controversy that we have to talk about.
Do tell. What do we have?
There's a Canadian curler at the center of a spiraling controversy at the Milan Cortina Olympics.
Yeah.
We're watching curling right now. This is Mark Kennedy of the Canadian curling team was using a finger.
A finger?
His finger.
What do you mean a finger?
Well, when you release the, whatever it's called, the
stone,
you're only allowed to release it up to a certain line, and then you have to let go.
Of course. You can't touch it past the line. That's an obvious rule.
He was using his finger on the stone.
Well, the way that it looks is in the super slow-mo as you release, you like dangle the finger a little with a slight touch.
Yeah.
To push a little as you're releasing your hand from the stone.
He was dangling a little too long.
You know, he's not the only one that was touching.
I know.
With a finger.
Well,
did you see the women's team was also called out for it?
Well,
and there were special cameras set up to catch the cheating, the alleged cheating with the stone and the touching of the stone.
Never trusted him.
Why?
The Canadian curlers?
Yes. Why did you?
Well, I mean,
is that like an old saying from back in the day? Never trust a Canadian curler?
Never trust a Canadian curler. Wouldn't trust them as far as I can throw a stone, Chris.
Well, you can't throw a stone.
I didn't even know what they were called. So, of course, I can't throw them.
So what's the end result of this cheating scandal that has been sweeping the Winter Olympic Games?
Mostly public shame.
Oh, okay.
But besides that, I think they have to clean the ice a little harder. I don't really know I think they just keep playing.
What?
I'm looking at it right now, and it's like
They weren't disqualified?
I think he's just Canadian. He just apologized. He was just
Hey
like,
there.
he's I probably could have handled
touched the stone
because they
there,
accused. You saw the video. They accused him, and he was like we can't play it because he swore a lot. Like it would just be if we played it, it would just be a constant bleep. If we played it, so we just cannot play it because he was mad. And when you swear that much of being accused of cheating, like you're guilty. Like you're just guilty. And
he's
so
overcompensating.
He's basically just saying, I acknowledge that he probably could have handled it better after launching an expletive-laden outburst towards Swedish curler Oskar Eriksson, who accused him of breaking the rules by double touching.
Double touching, yeah, with the extra finger.
Yeah, so
never double touch.
I mean, it's curling, and he's Canadian, so I think he was just like, oh, sorry, my bad.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on this situation as the Olympics take place. Week 2 of the Winter Games in Milan. It's Bleck Abdalla. That's our official Olympic update. They need more condoms, and there's extra touching of the stone. That's what we have from over the weekend in Milan. Bleck Abdalla coming up next here on Westwood One. We continue to talk football with you next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Live on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, also SiriusXM Channel 375 and all of our great radio affiliates across the country. It's Bleck and Abdalla, noon to 3 Eastern, each and every weekday with you. Live from Chicago, I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. 310-840-4910 is our phone number if you want to join us. Talk some football with us right now here on the show, because earlier today the Dolphins released Pro Bowl wide receiver Tyreek Hill. They also released Bradley Chubb, a couple other players. They clear a lot of cap space, the Miami Dolphins have. And so in this offseason, the Miami Dolphins are setting themselves up for like a refresh, right? We know that Tua Tagovailoa is likely to be traded this offseason. Where to? We don't know yet. But with Miami and what they're setting up with a new head coach with Jeff Hafley, new GM, you have the entire refresh of the organization. Now they're cutting bait with a lot of the vets who are pretty good, especially Bradley Chubb. Like, I'm guessing a lot of teams are going to go after Bradley Chubb for his services because he's not on the same level as some of the other free agents or big-name ticket players that we've talked about here on the show the last couple weeks, like Max Crosby. He's not that, but he's a productive edge rusher. So I'm guessing a lot of teams are going to be interested in Bradley Chubb's services this season.
Yeah, I would imagine. And, thinking that he is someone that could come in instantly and help a team. Last year, he had a decent season. He had 17 played in all 17 games. He had 8.5 sacks. He didn't play in all of 2024. He had that torn ACL. So 8.5 sacks coming off of a torn ACL is a pretty decent season. He's not obviously Max Crosby. He's not Trey Hendrickson. So he's not going to be looked on that. But he's that second tier of, rusher that's going to be on the market. So I would say any team that misses out on that or just wants to say, we don't want to give up draft picks. And obviously with Max Crosby, you don't have to pay him as well. You do have to pay him because he's coming to your team, but you don't have to negotiate a salary. You don't have to do draft picks and then negotiate some form of raise or whatever for him. With Chubb, you just have to pay him. And so when he comes over to your team, you're getting a guy that, could possibly put up another 8 sacks that year. I think he played in all 17 games, so he's obviously healthy coming off that injury. I think he'd be a great addition for any team that's going to add him.
So Bill Barnwell has a piece up on ESPN.com today that I think is pretty interesting. It's titled 2026 NFL Offseason, Trade Proposals That Fit for Both Teams. There's a couple of these proposals that caught my eye. The first one on the page that Bill Barnwell writes about is with a quarterback, and a quarterback we talked about at length last week. And that's Kyler Murray. And the suggestion from Bill Barnwell would be Kyler Murray gets traded to the Jets, the New York Jets, for Kyler Murray and a 2026 sixth-round pick, and the Cardinals would get a 2026 fourth-round pick. How about that? Kyler Murray, per Bill Barnwell, would suggest that all the Cardinals would get in return for Kyler Murray would be a fourth-round pick this upcoming season. That, to me, that's pretty surprising, a fourth-round pick.
Well, yeah, that's because Kyler Murray is going to cost you $52 million this year.
Yeah,
and
but any starting quarterback
I understand
would cost
a
lot of money like that.
But that is somewhat like we're seeing with Tua Tagovailoa and his contract, where these guys haven't panned out they're being traded for a reason. If you have a quarterback, you don't trade him. These guys are being moved off their team for a reason.
Yeah.
They're not good right now. And so if a team like the Jets thinks they can resurrect his career and he can be the next Sam Darnold, the next project that can, take a team to a Super Bowl or at least very far in the playoffs, then fine. But the fact of the matter is, you don't want a reclamation project to cost you $52 million for a year. So that's what it's going to cost them. So much like the rumblings that we've heard around Tua, how a team is going to have to include a draft pick to take them, or at least what the return is going to be a low pick, that's what this is going to be for Kyler Murray. The return is going to be just a fourth-round pick.
If I'm the Jets and all I have to give up to get Kyler Murray would be a fourth-round pick, I'm doing that in a second.
Absolutely.
In a second.
Absolutely.
In a New York minute,
okay.
I'm doing that.
Okay.
I'm getting right on that. Okay. I'm like,
all right.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Okay, so in the article, trade proposals that would fit for both teams. Bill Barnwell, the next one he suggests is a trade between the Raiders and the Bears, and it would tackle needs. Here's what the Raiders would get. The Raiders would get wide receiver DJ Moore, a 2026 first-round pick, and the Bears would get edge rusher Max Crosby and a 2027 fifth-round pick. The Chicago Bears are a team that have been linked and rumored to be a team interested in Max Crosby now for a little bit of time. Like, they are one of the teams that's sniffing around the Max Crosby Raiders situation. Does this work for both teams? Does this make sense? DJ Moore to the Raiders and a first-round pick. So the Bears' first-round pick this season. And the Raiders would then send Max Crosby and a 2027 fifth-round pick. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense because it alleviates the cost of 3 first-round picks or 2 first-round picks. It eliminates that, and it gives the Raiders something that they need, a weapon for a young quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. So you give him DJ Moore. He's got a reliable weapon. DJ Moore, when he's interested, can catch a lot of footballs. And the Bears get their edge rusher. They were one of the worst teams at getting to the quarterback last year. And you add Max Crosby to that defensive line, and all of a sudden that defense goes from just okay. Now, they had a lot of turnovers, but turnovers are 80% luck. You cannot build a defense that is reliant on turnovers. You can build a defense that gets to the quarterback, that is reliant on that, and Max Crosby is the guy that does that better than a lot of people in the NFL. So if you can do that, I would do that. Now, this actually does have legs. This trade proposal does have legs. Because if you go to Bill Zimmerman, who is producer extraordinaire for You Better You Bet.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Yes, with Nick Costos.
Nick Costos, the show that precedes us here, right here on Westwood One.
Westwood One Sports.
Right here.
Good job.
Right here.
Yes, continue on.
He writes on Windy City Gridiron. Bill Zimmerman is a bit of a Bears insider.
Okay.
And he wrote a piece, Chicago Bears rumors, will they add a big piece to their defensive line? Not only is Bill Zimmerman producer extraordinaire, bit of a Bears insider.
Okay. What did he say?
So he wrote a piece about the Super Bowl and talking to people around the Super Bowl and connected to teams and what the Bears could do. Trey Hendrickson came up a lot, and basically the Bears need to add defense. They got weapons everywhere. They got wide receivers in all. You go around the locker room, there's wide receivers everywhere you turn. You can't walk around the Bears locker room without stepping on a wide receiver or a tight end. But they don't have any pass rushers. So, this is what Bill Zimmerman writes. Talking to one person connected to the Raiders, he felt the Bears' 2026 first, a 2027 day 2 pick, and DJ Moore is something the Raiders would strongly consider.
Which is less than what Bill Barnwell is suggesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could get the deal done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's from Bill Zimmerman. You can hear him with Nick Costos each and every day before the Bleck Abdalla show right here on Westwood One Sports. He's a producer. He's the producer for You Better You Bet. So, Bill knows. He's got a lot of great connections. He's got great information that he posted on Friday about what it would take for Chicago to land Max Crosby. Bill Barnwell today suggesting that all the Bears would have to give up would be DJ Moore and the first-round pick this year in 2026 to get it done. You and I were talking about it last week, and I was suggesting that they may have to give up 3 first-round picks to get this done, and they should. So if it's only a first-round pick this season and DJ Moore, I think that's something the Chicago Bears have to do. And I think, like you kind of laid out, it does make sense for the Raiders because DJ Moore would fit with Fernando Mendoza. New quarterback, first-round pick, right? And you get an additional first-round pick for this season to jumpstart your rebuild and your fresh setup with the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it would make a lot of sense.
It also eliminates the need to draft weapons for you early if you're the Raiders. Like if you're the Raiders, the way you look at this, you don't need to take that first round pick, that second first round pick that you have this year and draft a weapon. You don't need to even take that second round pick and draft a weapon. You have DJ Moore right there. You can use that second first round pick that you have on an offensive lineman. You can use that second round pick on another offensive lineman. You had arguably one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. I keep going back to the fact that Ashton Genty was hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any other running back in the NFL. That is not how you build a football team.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not how you help your quarterback if your running back is being hit behind the line of scrimmage. So the way you help your quarterback, and I guess I understand that it's counterproductive to trade your best defensive player if you want to rely on a good defense and a good running game. But if you want to help your quarterback, it's also imperative that you protect your quarterback. And the way to help Fernando Mendoza, if you're the Raiders, is build your offensive line, give him a good weapon in DJ Moore. And I don't think that on the other side in Chicago, that Bears fans would be that upset if DJ Moore were gone if the return was Max Crosby.
Yeah, I think people would be okay with it. You and I are broadcasting from Chicago. We are Chicago Bears fans. I would be okay with it because I think they have enough depth from the wide receivers moving forward. Luther Burden is ready to take the next step. Hopefully Roma Dunze is the same. And then Colson Loveland has really become the number one receiver, even though he's a tight end. Colson Loveland's an absolute weapon for the Chicago offense. So I would be okay with it. You move away from DJ Moore, you give up a first-round pick, and if that's it, you get Max Crosby, now we're talking about something. So here's a couple of others from Bill Barnwell's piece on ESPN.com today that caught my eye. This is a trade between the Vikings and the 49ers. Here's what the Vikings would get. The Vikings would get quarterback Mac Jones and a 2027 third-round pick. The 49ers would get a 2026 second-round pick, a 2027 fifth-round pick, and a 2028 third-round pick. So a bunch of picks collected by the 49ers, and the Vikings would get Mac Jones. Interesting because could Mac Jones push J.J. McCarthy for the starting job? Is Mac Jones good enough to be the Vikings quarterback next season? I think that's the question here because Mac Jones is a good backup. Is Mac Jones better than J.J. McCarthy?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because I think that when you're in San Francisco, and I know he played really well when he came in when Brock Purdy was hurt for a few games this season, but I think that has a lot to do with Shanahan and what he can do with that offense with any quarterback. And that's not taking away from Brock Purdy. When Brock Purdy's in there, that offense elevates. But it doesn't come down too much when any other quarterback is in there. So when Mac Jones is in there, it's still operational. It's not like a quarterback is just in there to hand the ball off 30 times a game and make situational throws. Mac Jones is a game manager. Now, with Shanahan at the helm of that offense, he can make some more throws because they have decent weapons when everybody's healthy. They've got a good offensive line. They've got Kittle. They've got everybody, right? They've got a good offense. They've got one of the best play callers in the NFL. I think if you move him to the Vikings, that becomes one of these fake quarterback battles where you know J.J. McCarthy is going to win that battle, but you're just bringing in Mac Jones to say, we're going to test you and we're going to have a quarterback battle and we're going to say that to the media and to the fans. But we know J.J. McCarthy is going to win this battle, and we also have a very capable backup who spent a year with one of the best offensive play callers in the NFL, and we saw what that did for Sam Darnold. And now he's going to come and be here with us and with Kevin O'Connell. So if he does need to step in for J.J. McCarthy, who has been injured, who missed an entire year, his rookie year because of injury, who missed a significant amount of time last year because of injury, that if he does get injured again, that Mac Jones can come in and play. I don't think that that's in the best interest of the Vikings, though. What's in the best interest of the Vikings is to go out and make a trade for Kyler Murray, if it's only going to cost a 4th round pick.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the one where I would agree. If the article on ESPN.com is suggesting that the Jets pulled that off, why wouldn't the Vikings just give up a 4th round pick for Kyler Murray? That makes all the sense in the world. There is one other quarterback mentioned in the article, and that would be a trade between the Steelers and the Eagles. The Steelers would get quarterback Tanner McKee, and then the Eagles would get back a 2026 3rd-round pick, a 2027 3rd-round pick. And that would then give McKee a chance to be a backup and then maybe compete for the starting gig if or when Aaron Rodgers decides he's going to play or not play this upcoming season. So that's the only other quarterback that's mentioned in this article by Bill Barnwell. And it's a pretty good article on different scenarios in the NFL on players and teams that could be traded for each other and ones that make sense. Now, I think the two that stand out the most would be the Max Crosby to Chicago, making a lot of sense, and then Kyler Murray to New York for the Jets. I think both of those make a lot of sense.
I agree with you. I did like that one of them that was floated out there, that Keon Coleman is no longer a Bill.
Yeah, that is right.
That, after everything that went on with the Bills and Keon Coleman being the focus of everything that went on.
Keon Coleman to Jacksonville, Brian Thomas Jr. to Buffalo.
And basically swapping 5th round and 1st round picks and stuff like that. And like after all the drama, it's like, we actually don't like you. Please leave.
Which you know that's probably the case. What's going to happen? Like, I can't see Keon Coleman being in Buffalo next season.
Yeah.
After everything that happened and the owner just trashing you to the media. No one wanted him. It was the coaching staff that wanted him.
He shows up for the first off-season work and it's like, you're still here? Like, after all that, you still showed up for work? I thought you would have got the message by now.
There's no way.
Really, Keon? Okay.
It's Bleck Abdalla. If you want to join the show, you can call us at 310-840-4910, talking some football with you. Coming up next, should the NBA stick with the new format for the All-Star Game? We'll talk about that here on Westwood One Sports.
Westwood One, baby! Will Tua Tagovailoa jumpstart his career in a new city like Baker Mayfield did? We're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app until 3 Eastern, and Jim Rome will take over right here on Westwood One Sports. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. We are broadcasting live from Chicago, and every day we go to Raj Sharon, who's broadcasting live from Denver, Colorado, and now it's time to play a little one-on-one with Raj. What's up, Raj?
Hello, fellas. Happy Monday. We ready to go a little one-on-one? There was no one-on-one in the All-Star game, but we're going to go one-on-one now. You know, that's one of the things people have been pushing around. Yeah. We need a one-on-one All-Star thing.
Well, wouldn't that change All-Star Saturday night if there was a one-on-one competition?
So
that's right. There was the WNBA one-on-one.
The WNBA,
like
that side league that they're doing, had their all-star thing. Unrivaled. And they do a one-on-one, and they're like, imagine if the men did this. And I was like, they were cooking each other. Like, it was great. And they were breaking ankles and stuff. Like, it was bad, like in that good way. Like, it was, wow. Like, I don't think the men would be able to handle the ridicule.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't even handle when they did the All-Star game and they were picking teams.
Oh, yeah, remember that?
True.
Like they couldn't have they didn't want to have it live because someone's feelings were going to get hurt. Because no one wanted to play with Rudy Gobert.
I'll say this. This is the softest batch of NBA players. Their egos cannot handle anything.
You want to do this today? You know why this is where we're at with this game.
Well, I understand.
It's the LeBronification of the NBA.
I know.
Everyone is soft like Charmin.
I know. Let's not take away from one-on-one. Let's not take away from one-on-one.
It's where it comes from.
We can do it. We
it's
can do
his
this
era.
later. I know.
It's his rule.
I know.
He calls himself the king.
I just saw the
He's
highlights.
the ruler.
I just saw the highlights on Twitter, and it was great.
Soft.
It was Kelsey Plum just cooking people, and it was great.
All right,
hello,
guys.
Raj.
Hello, guys. Well, we're going to stick with the All-Star theme for the first question of one-on-one today. Next year, the All-Star game should stick with this new format that we just watched yesterday, or go back to the more traditional East versus West. Abdalla?
So, if I could guarantee that Wemby would try, then yes. But the problem is, I wonder if he only tried because it was the world versus the United States.
Oh, I don't think so. I think Victor Wembanyama is just wired differently.
If he's wired,
I think he wants competition,
then
and
yes.
I think he's someone who wants to be great.
Then yes, because he sparks effort in others. Then I would love it because I think that East versus West is still better. That's still, to me, as an older NBA fan, as an elder millennial NBA fan, that still is I washed. Yes,
you look washed.
Yes. As an unk NBA fan, as the kids, as an unk NBA fan, as the kids say, as NBA unk, as Chris and I are. That still matters to me, but I can't guarantee that he's going to try. So if he says he'll try if they go East versus West, then sure, yeah.
My answer is to go East versus West because I don't think that the new format last night or yesterday afternoon was good enough to warrant us sticking with this goofy new format. And quite honestly, we're all talking about it and living this and paying attention to sports. Too damn confusing going into the weekend what the hell was going to take place. Like, I get once the broadcast starts,
it was fine.
It's obvious, like, okay, they got 4 quarters.
Yeah.
There's going to be a game for each quarter. Okay, it's fine. But going into the weekend, it's too confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And thus, I think it's very difficult to get the casual sport fan to be interested in something that is that confusing going into the event. Because that's it. You got to get people there.
Yeah.
Once they were there, I think people enjoyed themselves watching this.
Mm-hmm.
But it was confusing leading up to it. Okay, you got the East All-Stars, you got the West All-Stars. They're going to break up into 3 teams. But also, if the teams aren't even, we're going to flip Norman Powell into a world player, even though he's a United States player. Because it was all just too confusing. And so I would prefer to go back to the East against the Western Conference.
Guys, a hybrid solution just to propose. I saw this online and it caught my attention. Kind of taking one element of what we saw yesterday, but going to an East versus West format. So traditional East versus West teams, but instead of just the one long game, could you take an element of what we had yesterday with the small games, almost like tennis style? Because what inevitably happens, there's these long stretches of the All-Star game where nobody tries. So if they were like the mini games, like we saw yesterday, like a quarter is a game, but doing it with East versus West teams instead of the confusing round-robin format.
So, Raj, what if you selected based on your designation of being selected to the All-Star team? So if you're a starter, you play the first quarter and the last quarter, and then the middle quarters go to the reserves, and you only play in those quarters, and you try and win your match, right? Like, That's what you're pitching, right, Raj? Like match play type of thing?
Yeah, essentially.
So,
it was almost like tennis scoring. Of like, okay, we're going to play like this one little mini game, then another mini game.
To have one set.
Mm-hmm. One set. But still, but do East versus West, so it's less confusing of who's on what team.
I don't mind dividing up the squads into smaller teams within the Eastern and Western conferences. I think that could make some sense, where it's like, or even kind of like what we saw last night in the championship game, where you take the Eastern Conference and it's players who are all-stars who are like under 5 years of service, or like players who have been to the All-Star game before or something, and you divide it up between young guys and old heads. Right? Like, because I think that could also work, because you get a little chippiness with the young guys going hard. Like Jalen Johnson was going hard last night.
You just can't have the old
Tyrese
guys
Maxey
play 3 games in a row.
Right, 3 games in a row. And I think the point, and maybe it's rightfully said, was like in past All-Star games, man, the second and third quarters were slogs. Whereas last night, they were still interesting because you had to win.
I would say this.
Game.
I was listening to the game on SiriusXM yesterday, and before the final game, they interviewed Kevin Durant. And he said that the reason he enjoyed the way it was going was because they were actually playing basketball. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a gimmick race to X number of points or this, that, right? Like all these little gimmicks that they've tried the last couple of years. His point was that each individual quarter they were just playing basketball. And I agree with them. It was fun to just see all-stars playing basketball.
All right, guys, let's move on to number 2. All 3 of us were hot on the Jaguars last year, heading to the playoffs. We all talked about how many games they had won in a row, and they were killing teams. And maybe an understated story is they did all that without the number 2 overall pick, Travis Hunter, who's going to be back next year. And we had a report over the weekend that it seems like the plan the Jaguars have from going into year 2 is to be a full-time corner and a part-time receiver. So our one-on-one question today is, the Jaguars should play Travis Hunter only on offense, only on defense, part-time on both, or full-time on both? Bleck?
I'm going to go only defense. I think that was the most logical way to handle this from the start. I thought it was ridiculous coming out of college to expect him to play both ways full-time. And I think for a young player to learn along the way and do that full-time is really difficult. Obviously, he got hurt. He wasn't able to do it for the full season. But I think defense first. If he is stellar at defense, like an all-pro level defensive player, you mix in some trick plays, occasional offensive plays here and there. I'm cool with that. I mean, essentially, you use them the way the teams in the 90s used Deion Sanders, whether it be the 49ers or the Cowboys. You know, you had the Falcons. You throw him out there on offense occasionally, but he's primarily a defensive player. That's the way I would handle Travis Hunter.
I want like 85-15. I want like 85% of the time he's on defense. The problem is if you put him out there, like they know you can't put him out there just as a decoy, and you can't put him out there and only throw him the ball, because you have to put him out there at least like 4 or 5 times a game, because you can't only put him out there to throw to him, because the other team, the defense will know that you're throwing to him.
Yeah.
So you have to put him out there a couple times as a decoy, and then you have to throw to him, you know? So it has to be at least 4 or 5 plays. And I think people make too much of, what is he going to be doing the meetings and all this? Put him out there and he runs a route. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. It's not that hard.
What's he going to do in the meetings?
Yeah, like, remember that conversation last year? Like, how's he going to split time between the offensive and defensive meetings? It's like, guys, it's not
but it is
he
a
learns
lot
like
of
3 routes. Like,
it's a lot of information to retain for a rookie player.
He learns 3 plays. Come on.
Yeah, but that's not 85-15.
Well, okay, so 90-10. Like, it's not, he learns 4
And I'll say one thing,
plays,
Abdalla, from covering him here in Colorado, he's a really, really bright kid. Like, I would not be worried about his ability to handle the mental side of it at all. He's
it's just really a lot. Player. Like you hear current players who are only playing one side of the ball talk about how taxing it is to learn a new offense, to all the game prep that goes into it.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, he obviously wants to try and do it and to handle it, but I think primarily he should be a defensive player first.
Yes.
All right, next up, I am really interested in your guys' answer to this as a couple kids who grew up in Chicago, because, you know, he was my hero, but I wasn't there in Chicago. Michael Jordan's Daytona 500 win yesterday. adds or doesn't add to his legacy? Abdalla.
I think it adds because of the context of the win. The context of the win is that it's the Daytona 500. It is the Super Bowl of racing. It happened on All-Star Weekend. It also happened the year in which, in the offseason, Michael Jordan sued NASCAR. And if he would have won and not settled out of court, I don't think a lot of people know about this. Michael Jordan sued NASCAR because of the way that they were paying out their winnings and all this kind of stuff, because he considered it a monopoly and all this. And there's a whole huge court case. And if he would have won, it would have forced the sale of NASCAR. Like, he would have taken down NASCAR because basically they effed with the wrong billionaire. Like, they didn't realize that he just has all of this money and doesn't care. He's like, yeah, tie me up in court. I don't care. And the fact that he won the Super Bowl of their sport, the next race, like the first race, like he just won it. It makes it so much better. Like, this only adds to his legacy. There's no way that this makes it any, like, and the All-Star game is taking place while this is happening, and he just doesn't care about it. It's great. I love it.
I don't think it adds to his legacy at all. I mean, is his legacy chasing Joe Gibbs? Is that what we're talking about? As team ownership in NASCAR, winning titles for race cars? It doesn't add to his basketball legacy. Like, I'm glad that he has something that he enjoys. He clearly is really into this. So, like, he's not some, like, silent partner owner of this 2311 race team that he part owns with Denny Hamlin. Like, I'm glad that he's doing something he enjoys. Like, we don't really get to see or hear from Michael Jordan much as a sports society. So he's doing something he likes. I would say it's totally random. Like, of all things for you to see Michael Jordan to be involved in, the fact that he's like a big time NASCAR guy is pretty random.
That's why it's better to me.
It doesn't add to his legacy.
I think it does. The fact that he came out...
He's chasing down Joe Gibbs.
And just dominated. No, but the fact that he just went in and in a few years is already winning and has one of the better teams. Like, he isn't just some guy that just owns a couple cars and just doesn't care. Like, his team is good.
Well,
and
how do you guys factor in that his NBA ownership days and GM days didn't go very well?
They were terrible.
That factor into the discussion here?
Well, right. If Abdalla wants to say that it adds to the legacy, what about his time running...
That takes away from it.
The Charlotte Bobcats,
yeah, that takes away from it. Now we're even, Steven.
Okay,
Are we throwing the Birmingham Barons in here too, Abdalla? We're just going to group everything that he did in sports?
Well, right. Like, I would say
depends
this,
on which conspiracy
Raj,
you believe.
What do you think? Like, to me, this is comparative to, like, does it add to Ryan Reynolds' career that he's a part owner of Wrexham?
No, but
and that they've elevated
different.
Multiple levels.
That's different.
Those mid-mobile
in
spots
European
are great
soccer
that he does.
I think he's an actor who just happens
okay,
to own
but does
a team.
it add to his legacy that he owns a soccer club that's been successfully rising through the levels in European soccer?
He's an actor who happens to own a team. I feel like Jordan competed
but
in sports.
you talk about Ryan Reynolds as the actor. That's the important thing.
And I talk
you
about...
don't add in there that it's because he also owns Wrexham.
I think this ad, because we don't see Jordan do anything else.
Raj, what do you think? Wait,
there's too much Ryan Reynolds.
Is that a
too much
comparison?
Ryan Reynolds.
Fine, Rob McElhenney? Which one?
There's already too much of him, too.
I don't know if I'm comparing it to actors, but to me, as a Jordan fan, it washed away a little taste of how poorly it went for him as an owner in Charlotte.
Oh,
all right.
For me, a little bit.
Abdalla gets the point.
A little bit.
Raj, are you a big NASCAR guy?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. Well,
I got to be honest. I didn't even know the Daytona 500 was yesterday until
it's
I
always
saw the
the week
clips
after
that
the
Jordan
Super Bowl,
won.
right?
Yeah.
Always the week after the Super Bowl.
I mean, you guys brought up that it's random. I mean, Mike is from North Carolina. Like, NASCAR's huge.
And it's big.
So,
big
that's
in North Carolina.
how you got into it. Yeah.
Bleck Abdalla. Thank you, Raj. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Bleck
fellas.
Abdalla here playing one-on-one with Raj here on a great Monday, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. All right, so coming up next, how do we fix the NBA? I want your thoughts at 310-840-4910. Tanking was a major issue that was talked about this weekend with the NBA, with Adam Silver, and everything that goes on with the league for All-Star Weekend. The All-Star Game, I think some people really enjoyed what they saw last night. I thought the game itself, even though you saw some competitive basketball, it was a bit lackluster. Like, it wasn't such a great idea that now we're like, this is absolutely something that has to continue each and every year. I think everything is open to debate and to come up with better ideas for the NBA product. So could one of those ideas be getting rid of the NBA draft altogether? We talk about that next.
Could Kyler Murray be next year's Sam Darnold? In a new home, we're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bleck Abdalla Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. New content posted daily from Bleck Abdalla right there on YouTube. Bleck Abdalla Show is the new page. Make sure you like and subscribe. You can also watch the show live each and every day right there on our YouTube channel, Bleck Abdalla Show. I'm Chris Bleck along with Am Abdalla here, Bleck Abdalla on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So over the weekend with the NBA All-Star Weekend going on, a lot of the conversation and a lot of the detractors to the NBA product this year is a lot of complaining about tanking and complaining about what the NBA currently is offering to fans. I think you could say that tanking is an issue. I think you could point to load management being an issue. Mm-hmm. I think you could also point to the players just not giving a damn in the regular season. And from this point on, from the All-Star break to the end of the season, you see a different gear kind of notched up by the players. Like, this is go time now. If you're a basketball fan, an NBA fan, teams actually start to get into a different gear post All-Star break as they head towards the playoffs. And then once you get to the playoffs, it's a different level as well. There's a lot of criticism being flown and thrown at the NBA right now. Tanking is first and foremost as the problem. Now, Tom Haberstroh online and on his podcast, and he's written about this, that one way that you could eliminate this tanking conversation would be removing the NBA draft altogether. And essentially, the way that I would view that is that it would resemble how European soccer is kind of modeled, right? Like, players are coming out of college or out of school, and then they can sign with an academy, and then they are just a part of that team, that franchise, for the future. Mm-hmm. Where here in the States, kids go to college, you're a college athlete for 3-4 years, or in some cases, 9, like what we saw last year, the kid from Montana who's going back for a 9th year of college football, which is insane. But then you go professionally at a certain point. Baseball does have the minor leagues. Kids could go from high school straight to the minors. Yeah. And they could play for a professional franchise and be getting paid at an early age. They don't have to go to college, but some do. Is eliminating the draft altogether the way to fix tanking in the NBA?
No, I don't think so, because I think that when you have essentially free agency out of college, if you're going to still mandate a rule that you have to go to college or that you have to be out of high school for at least a year so you can go to the G League or you can go overseas for whatever, you're creating free agency. And whether it's shoe companies, whether it's the best of the NBA, they will control who will be able to sign these players, and you will create the problem that baseball has. You will create the haves and the have-nots. And the NBA, we've seen teams, whether it's Cleveland and getting LeBron, whether you want to believe the draft is rigged or not. It's a conspiracy theory that people can believe or cannot believe. The Cavs getting LeBron, the Bulls getting Derrick Rose, the Thunder acquiring 1,000 draft picks and then flipping their team around, and now they're the best team in the NBA. They do that because of the draft. If you do that, no one is going to go play in Cleveland if you get rid of the draft. The Cavs don't get LeBron James if there's no draft. No one is going to go play for the Utah Jazz if there is no NBA draft. Everyone's going to go play for the Texas teams because there's no state tax. Everyone's going to go play for the teams in LA because they're going to have the money. Everyone's going to go play for the New York Knicks because they have the money if they want to spend it.
So Haberstroh in his piece on Yahoo points out that if you look at college basketball right now, because of NIL, the top players can choose where they go, and they're getting paid lots of money. And his point in the column is that you have multiple players who are at the highest level who did not go to Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, and the biggest of big schools, the Blue Bloods, who would be your expected teams to land the top players.
Okay.
You're talking about top players that have gone to Rutgers or BYU or Oklahoma State or Georgetown or other schools, and that his point in the column is that just because it would be a free agency, that there is no guarantee that kids would see a team that's loaded, say, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and say, well, I'm going to go there because, like, you're not going to play right away because you have all these other great players there to begin with. So you would probably go somewhere where you could carve your own path.
That's college, though. It's completely different from professional sports.
But that's what he is comparing it to, because now, for the most part, college basketball is professional sports.
I understand that.
And same with college football.
But Rutgers can get one big donor to donate to their NIL fund and then go out and pay for a player. You know, BYU can get one big donor to pay for their NIL fund and then go out and get a player. You know, the
NBA still has a salary cap. So,
I understand that.
So if teams are loaded and locked in,
I get that.
Like the New York Knicks right now would have to move pieces in a theoretical world to create space to land that number one pick type player.
Yeah.
So you would, to some extent, as a franchise, have to decide, do we want to play for the future, or do we think our team is good enough now to try and win? I think it would create a interesting competitive situation, because like a team like the Spurs or the Thunder or like even Detroit right now in the Eastern Conference, why would you go spend for this year's draft class when you have arguably the best team in the conference?
Okay. And
like
then
the Rockets, they're a team that's closer to winning now than, say, developing, right? They went out in the offseason and they got Kevin Durant. So if you look at the way that the league is formulated and how teams are put together, the bottom teams, like, there is a good chance that someone's never going to want to go play for Utah. That's possible.
But you're also going to have owners that are going to fall into the baseball trap of, well, now I don't have to try. Now I can just sit back and make my money and just not try. And I can just be bad and collect a paycheck.
Those owners are already doing that.
Yeah, but now you don't have, now there's no, like, there was a reward before. Like, now you can say, well, we're bad, but look what we got you. We got you this pick. And now you can come see this pick, and you can come see this number 1 draft pick or number 2 draft pick. But if there's not that, then you're just bad. But you could still, make money as a franchise because teams don't lose money. No one loses money on professional teams. Any team, baseball, football, basketball, you don't lose money on teams. And so if you get rid of the draft, there's no hope for fans. And then that's the real problem. Then you have no interest whatsoever. You can't get rid of the draft because then you have no option for fans to be invested in their teams. Like, there's already fans that are losing interest in their teams because they think their teams are in the middle. Look at Chicago Bulls fans. Look at some of these teams that are perpetually in the middle and are saying, well, we're trying, but we're not trying. Like Heat fans, Heat culture, they want to try, but they've also only been in the play-in for the past, 3-4 years? They've constantly been in the play-in?
Yeah.
Because they can't get a way out?
Yep.
So you can say you're trying, but you can also be perpetually in the middle and be an NBA middle hell right there.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Over the weekend, as we continue to talk about the NBA, if you want to help us try and figure out how to fix the NBA, we'll take your thoughts at 310-840-4910. Abdalla, what was going on with Kevin Durant over the weekend? There seems to be a lot online, a lot of chatter, a lot of is conspiracy Abdalla here to try and let us know what's going on.
Put on my tinfoil hat
with Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant has been exposed.
Oh no!
Allegedly.
What happened?
Let me preface this segment by always saying allegedly. Apparently, allegedly, Kevin Durant's many a burner were found on whatever Twitter, Instagram, X he found. And apparently he has been taking shots at current teammates, former teammates, and they are not kind.
Wait, shots to what? To who? Like what? Just making fun of people? Who's he talking to?
So this is, there's a story, there's an article on Yahoo, allegedly. Well, the article's real, but they even say allegedly, because these are not confirmed that these are Durant's burners. So there's one at Jabari Smith. I can't trust Jabari to make an effing shot or to get a stop. And then he calls him a very bad name.
Oh, no.
I swear I miss Ben Simmons. At least he would give me the ball. Okay, so at least that's nice about Ben Simmons.
All right, okay.
Saying shots at Harden, shots at Kyrie. Like,
now, is this confirmed or this is all alleged?
People believe that this is Durant's burner.
And Kevin Durant was on his phone the entire All-Star weekend. Every photo that I saw of Durant, even at the All-Star game, when they would go to him on the sideline, he was on his phone the entire time.
Well, I don't understand what he has to gain by doing this.
I don't either. We'll continue with your thoughts on the NBA All-Star weekend at 310-840-4910, and we will hear from Adam Silver on the tanking situation in the NBA. That's next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Every day, noon to 3 Eastern, right here on Westwood One Sports, the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM Channel 375, and all of our great radio affiliates across the country. It's Bleck and Abdalla live from Chicago. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. If you want to join us this hour, you can call us at 310-840-4910. The All-Star game was yesterday in the NBA. All-Star weekend just took place. Now the NBA sets their sights on the second half of the season and the playoff race. But Adam, really, in reference to what we saw over the weekend, there is a lot to criticize the NBA for. And I feel like each and every mark, the NBA just got a lot wrong because they keep trying to change everything with the game and with the product to chase young eyeballs and young fans. And sometimes I feel as if they are so proactively trying to chase the younger generation into being basketball fans that they forget that the reason all of us became basketball fans and sports fans in the first place is by just watching the product. I became a basketball fan because of the basketball games that I watched as a kid. That's what got it done. It wasn't gimmick here, this on TikTok. Let's add this tournament. Let's do this. Let's change all of this stuff. All of that, from the dumb court designs for the in-season tournament to everything that we've seen every step of the way, I feel as if Adam Silver has completely lost his way as a commissioner, and the thing that the league needs to offer to people is the product. If you can watch NBA basketball games and watch the actual competition, it's a pretty cool sport. But the league is always focused on things that are not that. And I think that's a major problem.
I thought the NBA had a horrible weekend. Besides the All-Star game. The fact that you and I, who host a sports radio show on Westwood One, talking about NBA All-Star Weekend last week and didn't know when the time it was starting and were shocked that all of the events had already taken place on Saturday by the time we tuned in, to trying to explain to someone how the All-Star game was actually going to work on Sunday. Like, once you started watching it, you were like, okay, this team's going to play this team, then this team, and then the winner will play. That's okay, I guess I get it. The actual competition was good in the All-Star game, but once again, the skills competition was bad. The dunk contest was horrible. And I love Damian Lillard, but The fact of the matter is, a guy that hasn't played a game this entire season won your 3-point contest. And that's embarrassing for the league. And then, behind the scenes, Adam Silver has to defend the league from tanking, from talking about how AI is going to change the league for the better, and how they're going to expand the league and change the league for the better. And it just seemed like he was taking arrows left and right from reporters on a weekend where the league is supposed to be celebrated and put on a pedestal for fans. It just seemed like a huge miss for the entire NBA.
Well, you said that Adam Silver's taking arrows left and right, but a lot of this is his own doing.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think it was necessary to tweak and change the All-Star game to the extent that they've done. Like, I get it. Like, here's what's so frustrating to me as a sports fan. It's the fact that these players, for the most part, and this is a broad statement, but for the most part, they all make way too much money in comparison in the flow chart based on caring, right? Like, they make so much money now that someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his pregame fits are more important to him than other things in life, right? Like his brand of I'm pregame fit guy is so important to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That and flopping all over the court. He's arguably the best player in the league, right? But that's his branding is I'm guy that cares about fashion, and I'm a flopper to get fouls called. Like, that's your best player of the league. When decades before, your best player of the league was like a guy that just wanted to be the greatest ever, or a guy who not only wanted to be the greatest ever, but like he was trying to do an exact replica of the guy who was the greatest ever.
Yeah.
So like you went from Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant, and like those were the stewards of the league for so long, and it showed the way. And I called it the LeBronification of the NBA, where LeBron is all about everything other than the actual game. He's about the side projects. He's about his shoes. He's about his sons. He's about this, that. It's fine. As a human, that's great to have all those interests and to be a good dad and to do all that stuff. As a sport fan, just watching someone play basketball, when you know that LeBron doesn't care about something and he's just going through the motions, that's bothersome. And I feel like that has trickled down to the younger generation. It was refreshing last night to see Kawhi Leonard try and to give a max effort. It was also refreshing to see Anthony Edwards talking absolute trash to other players and saying he wants to beat them. It was refreshing to see Victor Wembanyama, a young player, early in his career. He might be someday the best player to play in the league, right? To see him trying. You've got two Euros who don't want anything to do with the game, in Jokic and Luka. I think the way that you handle those two going forward is this. You announce them as all-stars, and you don't invite them to the all-star game. No, I'm being serious. Why is Nikola Jokic at the all-star game? Name him an all-star and tell him to stay home.
I'm surprised he doesn't fake an injury at this point to get out of it just so he can go on vacation for a week.
Luka Doncic is out there with his Olay act on defense. Meanwhile, dudes are actually trying last night.
I know.
And Luka was not. Tell him to stay home.
Yeah.
Like, if that's the case, I would much rather see guys like Tyrese Maxey giving an effort, Jalen Johnson giving an effort. I mean, when you get NBA players trying, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think it all comes back to this same conversation that you mentioned, that this was a bad weekend for the NBA. I'm Chris Bleck, along with Adam Abdalla. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Adam Silver talked to the media on Saturday, and he talked about tanking in the league and the incentives and how they're not aligned with the way to prevent tanking around the league. Here's Adam Silver.
The incentives are not necessarily matched here. I think that the tradition in sports where the worst performing team receives the first pick from their partners. When any economist comes and looks at our system, they always point out you have the incentives backwards there. That doesn't necessarily make sense.
Adam Silver, more on the motivations of tanking from his teams.
It's not what the fans want at the end of the day, although my caveat is, and this is where teams are in a difficult place, many of you in this room have written, and understandably, about our teams, that the worst place to be, for example, is to be a middle-of-the-road team, either be great or be bad, because then that will help you with the draft. And so in many cases, you have fans of those teams, maybe it's not what they want to pay for to see poor performance on the floor, but they're actually rooting for their teams in some cases to be bad, to improve their draft chances.
Yeah, and that's never good. So that's Adam Silver on Saturday speaking to the media, his state of the NBA to the media on Saturday during All-Star Weekend, that if you are a fan of a team and your team is actively trying to tank, it sucks. Now, in some situations, you kind of know that that's the only way you can maybe have something better. You know, I'm a fan of the Chicago Bulls, lifelong Chicago Bull fan. The Bulls refuse to tank. They think that they are putting this charade on where people believe that they have a chance if they sneak into the playoffs. It's something they've been selling to the fan base for years now. They're living off of the legacy of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and those teams from the 90s that won championships. People continue to go. If you look at the numbers, usually the Bulls are either number 1 or 2 in attendance each season. Their stadium is the largest in the NBA, and people go to the games. The ownership group loves that. They love that they don't have to try, the Reinsdorfs, yet they still get butts in seats, and that's all that matters. Butts in seats. Not wins, not trophies, not banners hanging in the rafters celebrating championships. That's not important to the Reinsdorfs. They want butts in seats.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because I actually would prefer the Bulls to tank, so then we can get a great player and to be back in the mix with some of these other teams. So, like, when Adam Silver says that there are fan bases that understand that in some situations to tank is actually beneficial, I get that. You don't want to be stuck in the middle. That's what Atlanta and Chicago and Miami for the last few years in the Eastern Conference, they've been stuck in the middle. There's no hope. What are the Atlanta Hawks or the Chicago Bulls going to do? No one wants to sign with them. They're not.
No.
They've tried. Like, Atlanta's tried to trade and to find pairings and different items to work for the Hawks. It just hasn't worked. But so when you look at that, it could be the only way out for some teams. But overall, when you have a handful of teams, almost like 10 teams right now in the league, not competitive, all trying to tank, that is bad for your product.
Absolutely. But at the same time, you don't think, like, Kings fans want them to be as bad as possible so they have a shot at Cam Boozer or Darren Peterson? Because then, here's the thing. You get one high draft pick. You get the number 1 pick. If Cam Boozer turns out to be a player, and he's really good, and you put a couple good pieces around him, that's when a disgruntled star looks at them and goes, I want to go play with Cam Boozer. And then that's how you acquire a superstar. Because we've always seen this. Like, this is how this works. That's the recipe for this. You have young talent because you were bad and you got a number 1 pick, and then a superstar wants to go, and a disgruntled superstar wants to go and play with that young talent. They see a team that's young, that's developing, and they go, I can make that team a championship team. Like, oh, I don't know, Giannis. That may or may not want out, that said this weekend, I don't want out right now.
Sure.
Right now.
Okay.
He said right now.
Yeah. Whatever you say, Giannis.
You don't think that Washington right now doesn't want a chance at Boozer or Peterson, like their fans?
Yeah.
Like that they would get upset that at the last game of the season, that if they won that game, that their fans would be upset. So don't tell me that fans are mad, Adam Silver. Those fans want their team to lose so they have a chance at a generational, franchise-changing player.
Saturday, Silver continued on the tanking conversation, talking about the long and short-term effects of tanking on the league.
Focusing on the here and now, the behavior we're seeing from our teams, and doing whatever we can to remind them of what their obligation is to the fans and to their partner teams. But number 2, as I also said in that statement, the competition committee started earlier this year re-examining the whole approach to how the draft lottery works. And ultimately, any changes will require a vote of the Board of Governors, so it then will need to go in front of the board. But there have been lots of different ideas out there over the years, not just necessarily changing the draft lottery odds yet once again, but looking at whether there's a better system here to try to align incentives.
So there you go. There's Adam Silver speaking to the media on Saturday. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. We're taking your calls at 310-840-4910. How do we fix the NBA? Adam Silver keeps trying to change everything about the product. I heard this on Saturday, and I almost lost it. Can we just have sports and watch our sports? Does every element of life have to be changed? And do I just sound like someone who's getting older, who's resisting change? Listen to this clip from Adam Silver on how AI can change NBA broadcasts for the future. This is Adam Silver on Saturday.
In essence, you'll be able to hear the game in any dialect, any language. You'll be able to hear a hardcore X's and O's commentary, maybe one that's more comedic, if that's what you're interested, or somebody for a novice explaining, each foul and the rules as it goes along. Beyond that, in the hyper-personalization, if people want to shop during a game, if they want to, be on social media and having an ongoing discussion about some aspect of the game, I think it's a really exciting moment.
Who wants that? Who in their right mind wants that on their game broadcast?
I mean,
what the hell are we talking about?
Chris, you don't want to be able to buy
the shop
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's fit?
I can do that.
As he's walking, as they show it to you?
Why does that have to be a part of the broadcast?
Because you don't want a comedic take on the game from Drewski as you're watching the game. You don't want that as AI Drewski commentates on the game.
I really feel like we're at a crossroads right now.
You don't want that in your life?
I feel like we're at a crossroads. Isn't there enough information out there that this whole AI thing is at some point we're going to look back and be like, it was silly to think that it was going to change everything in the world? Come on, isn't that what's coming? Am I crazy? Every story that's published every other day is something else warning us about how AI technology isn't what we thought it was going to be, and it may be self-aware at this point.
Oh, it is. They already have their own social media network.
So
where they talk about us.
So if that's the case, why the hell would I want my sports broadcast to be changed to a super hyper personal?
That's the problem.
I don't want that. I want my sports to be so we can all enjoy it together.
That's it. Sports are the last communal thing that we all do together. Sports are the one thing that still brings us all together. Sports is the one thing that it doesn't matter what you believe in or who you are or anything.
We're
about
all cheering
you.
for a team together.
We're all whatever fan. We're all the fan of whatever team. It doesn't matter where you came from, what you believe in, what you do for a living, how much money you make. That doesn't matter. I'm a Bulls fan. You're a Bulls fan. That's all that. And right now, we're cheering for the Bulls. And that's all that matters. And we're watching and listening to the same broadcast. And we both might not like Tony Romo. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. And like, that's supposed to be what sports is about.
Raj Sharon is producing the show, Bleck Abdalla, live in Denver, Colorado. Raj, what did you just text us? Say that on the air.
We're aging out, though, guys. We're all the three of us. We're all in our early 40s.
No,
they have us.
False. We are getting older. Raj,
target demo.
I guarantee you.
Target demo.
Young people are not as enthused and happy about AI technology taking over their broadcast.
That's
guaranteed.
not my argument.
Guaranteed.
I don't argue with you on that, but the motivation for where Silver and everyone's going, I understand it. I may not think it's the right execution, but they figure they've got Adam Abdalla, they've got Chris Bleck, they've got Rod Sharon. How do we go get, 17-year-old who scrolls on TikTok? That's what they're thinking about.
But again, this is my point, is that these executives, these people running leagues, the people telling you that this is the way it's going to go, I don't think young people are asking for this. I think it's all that's being offered to them, and that's why they're consuming it. Like, I don't think it's any surprise when something is made the way it used to be made that people are thoroughly enthusiastic about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me give an example, right? Tom Cruise is like on his own trying to save the movie industry by himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Tom Cruise and James Cameron are like the two mavericks, right? And I know that's his name.
Nice pun.
But
See what you did there. Yeah.
But that's what they are, right? And Tom Cruise, they make a movie, Top Gun 2, the Maverick movie, the sequel to Top Gun.
Yeah.
And it's like real tangible things taking
awesome.
place.
Yeah.
And they filmed it in real fighter jets. And yes, they use special effects.
But all James Cameron does is special effects.
Well, I mean, Tom
But
Cruise
he does
went
have
to war to keep that thing from going to streaming because that was during COVID, and they just wanted to put it out on streaming. And he was like, "No, we are
Here's
putting
my
this in the
point.
theater."
When you make something that's great like that, people go and see it.
Yeah.
But when Netflix is just offering you slop after slop after slop, and that's all that's out there is just a bunch of slop, of course young people will stop going to movie theaters. What is there offered to them anymore? Why would they go?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same with the same concept with the NBA.
Yeah.
If you're Adam Silver and you're only offering slop like the in-season tournament or the play-in games,
Yeah.
why would people pay attention to that? Why would young people care?
I don't know. He's losing them. But that's the problem. The league is in trouble. The league is in one of the worst places it's ever been.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. We'll be back.
Will the Seahawks franchise tag Kenneth Walker, or could the Super Bowl MVP be on his way to a new team? We'll break down the options as they come to light on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Bleck Abdalla, Westwood One Sports. You gotta listen to this audio. Chris Sims was on the Dan Patrick Show last week talking about Malik Willis. Listen to what Chris Sims had to say about Malik Willis.
The incentives. The incentives.
I think Malik Willis is a superstar, right? I would think he is the crowning gem of guys that's going to be out there as far as free agents that you can get no compensation, trading, any like that.
Why wouldn't Pittsburgh go for Malik Willis?
If I were them, I'd be looking at that. You're exactly right. I mean, Malik Willis has proven. I mean, he's got special talent. He has a special arm. He's got special mobility. He knows how to run the offense and do all of that. So, yeah, he's a great story here. And, again, another story of, we looked at the draft and, again, I was a Malik Willis fan coming out. And it was like, okay, yeah, I know Kenny Pickett can play in the pocket, and he's very good in the meeting room. And I'm so sick of that damn dumb discussion all the time with some of these quarterbacks. And I'm going to go, oh, yeah, how did that meeting room and in the pocket work for you, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia Raiders? How about the guy that has a ton of talent and can make game-changing plays and just needs a little polish and needs to be coached a little? And that's where, the league misses out on guys like that.
Malik Willis, a superstar in the league. That's from Chris Sims last week on the Dan Patrick Show. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. What the hell is Chris Sims talking about? I mean, Malik Willis has had his chance to be a starter in the league. He was drafted by Tennessee, the 2022 draft. He was a third-round pick, the 86th player selected overall. But at the time, Tennessee, when they took him, the idea was that Malik Willis would turn into their franchise quarterback. He played in 8 games. He started 3. And then he bounced from Tennessee in 2 years to Green Bay, where he's been the backup for the last 2 seasons, starting 3 games total in 2 seasons. I mean, he's a good backup. The fact that Chris Sims thinks that Malik Willis will be the next, quote, superstar to go from backup to a starting position, I don't see it. I've seen Malik Willis play football. I thought he was a decent quarterback coming into the NFL, but I don't see this, whatever Sims is talking about there.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it. I think he could have a chance, right? We talked about when he was playing for the Packers this year, and he had to come in when Jordan Love was hurt, and he had a decent game against Chicago when he came in. He had to start against Baltimore. He played fairly well, but all of the conversation I remember while the games were going on is, man, LaFleur is going to get Willis paid. And is it more the system or is it more Malik Willis? And he can have all the talent in the world. And I think that in the right situation, again, we talked about the right situation. And is the right situation a team with a really good defense, a team with decent weapons, and a team with a good offensive line? If he goes to Minnesota, can he have success? He could probably win a handful of games in Minnesota, but is a better option there going with Kyler Murray over Malik Willis? Could he go to Pittsburgh and be a solution there? Or is the better option going with Aaron Rodgers, who has a familiarity with Mike McCarthy's system? The better option there is probably Aaron Rodgers over Malik Willis, who Aaron Rodgers has a familiarity with the system coming in. And they've got a good defense, and they've got an okay offensive line, and they've got weapons. And again, Aaron Rodgers already played there last year. He knows all the wide receivers. He knows McCarthy's system. Could he go to the Jets and replace Justin Fields? That's where Malik Willis maybe could have some success.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I could see that.
Superstar, though?
No.
That's not the case.
No.
Yeah, you're right. There are spots around the league where he can compete and he can win a starting job. The point of us playing the Chris Sims audio and talking about this isn't to trash Malik Willis.
No, not at all.
He could certainly start in the league. I just don't see it as a superstar. And, he's not even going to be a Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield situation. Those two guys are more talented coming out of college into the NFL. So to suggest that they had that type of play in them in the right situation, I don't think that's quite the same thing with Malik Willis. Now, has he jumped in certain spots when Jordan Love has been injured and played well for the Green Bay Packers? He has. He's been a really good backup. I think that if you wanted to compare Malik Willis to Mac Jones, now we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Who's the backup between those two? Who's more likely to have success as a starter this upcoming season if they were sent to a different location? Malik Willis or Mac Jones? Now, if we were talking about this earlier, if Mac Jones was traded to the Vikings, I don't know if Mac Jones beats out J.J. McCarthy. Does Malik Willis?
I think he's got a better chance.
He might.
I think he's more dynamic.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, J.J. McCarthy was listed as someone who was pretty dynamic with his legs coming into the NFL,
but Mac
too.
Jones isn't. Mac Jones is a statue back
No,
there.
Yes,
he can't move.
Yes. But what I'm pointing to is that Malik Willis may beat out J.J. McCarthy, but I don't know if that's a fact. Kyler Murray going to the Vikings, he's your starting quarterback. That's not a competition. Kyler Murray would be the starter. Malik Willis going to the Vikings, that's a competition. That's different.
Absolutely. That's more of a legit competition than Mac Jones. That seems like a fake competition where you're just setting it up for J.J. McCarthy to feel a little bit pushed, so he, brings a little bit more out in training camp and feels a little bit more pushed. If you're spending $56 million on a player, he's going to be your starter. Kyler Murray's coming in as a starter. J.J. McCarthy's going to sit for another year and maybe learn a little bit more and get a little bit more reps under his belt as a backup, and then maybe start in a year or two. Malik Willis would be your starter, I would say, because the Steelers don't have anybody else. It's not going to be. Maybe you come in and say it's going to be a competition between him and Mason Rudolph, and you say, okay, maybe you could get something out of those two, and say that could be a competition. I could see that, but I think Malik Willis would win that competition. Malik Willis would be the quarterback for the Steelers. I think would be the starter in New York for the Jets too. But they could sign him, and I don't think it would cost them very much money either. He could be an easy replacement for Justin Fields. They kind of play a similar type of game where he can run, he can throw, he can do all the same stuff Justin Fields could do. But then are you really upgrading over Justin Fields at that point?
Yeah, I think you are with Malik Willis. Justin Fields just isn't very good, unfortunately. That's the key so I think Malik Willis could beat Justin Fields out in a quarterback competition. Bill Barnwell on ESPN.com today has a column posted, the 2026 NFL offseason, trade proposals that fit both teams. And he goes through a bunch of different proposals that make sense for both sides. So the first one that he lists off, the Jets and the Cardinals make a trade. Kyler Murray goes to the Jets with a 2026 sixth-round pick. The Cardinals get back a 2026 fourth-round pick. That, to me, makes a lot of sense. The Jets would get a starting quarterback. And then, we'll see if Aaron Glenn and the whole Jets reshuffling of every assistant coach and coordinator with Aaron Glenn in the Jets, if that works out for them this upcoming season. And the Cardinals get back a 4th-round pick, which is surprising, but when you look at Kyler's contract, that's all they're probably going to get for Kyler Murray, and they're going to have to attach a pick with that in the other direction. So if Kyler Murray lands with the Jets, do you think that's last week we talked about it here on the show. The Vikings would be the perfect situation for Kyler.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're the Jets and it's only a 4th-round pick that you have to give up, that's something you absolutely have to look at.
Yeah, I would, because if it only costs you a 4th-round pick, you're absolutely doing that. You already have a decent defense. You've already set it up where, they didn't win a lot of games, obviously. They've got the 2nd pick in the draft, and there's no quarterbacks coming out that would be worth it taking a pick that high, because you don't have anybody after Fernando Mendoza. So you're not taking a quarterback that high. So the only way you're getting a quarterback is either you're signing Malik Willis, like we just talked about, or you're trading for someone like Kyler Murray. And you've got some decent weapons. You probably have to draft some weapons there, is what you're doing there. So I would say what I would do is trade for Kyler Murray, but then what are the Cardinals doing at quarterback? Are they the ones that sign Malik Willis, or are they now in the market to trade for Tua Tagovailoa from the Miami Dolphins? What do the Cardinals do at quarterback now? Because now you've got the quarterback carousel, and now someone's got to be a Cardinals quarterback because the Cardinals don't have anybody now.
The other trade that caught my eye in the Bill Barnwell piece on ESPN.com today, the Raiders would get DJ Moore and the 2026 first-round pick, and the Chicago Bears would get edge rusher Max Crosby and a 2027 fifth-round pick. Bears and Raiders, that trade would make sense for both sides. DJ Moore going to the Raiders with a first-round pick, and the Bears would get back Max Crosby and a fifth-round pick in 2027. I think, obviously, it would make sense for Chicago because they need an edge rusher. For the Raiders, I can get that too because they would get a first-round pick. I believe Chicago is picking 25th in this year's draft, so they would get the 25th pick. And DJ Moore is in a spot where there are other players behind him pushing for the top wide receiver job. He's getting paid as a top 10 wide receiver, and the Raiders would look to pair him with the first pick in Fernando Mendoza,
Mm-hmm.
and they would get that 25th pick overall in this year's first-round draft to help build the team. And if that's all that it takes to get Max Crosby to Chicago, the Bears should do that. Absolutely. First-round pick and DJ Moore, done.
It solves both needs for both teams because then the Raiders get a second first-round pick that you can use on offensive line. You can use your second-round pick on offensive line. And if you're the Raiders and you pair DJ Moore with Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty and two new offensive linemen, you sign a couple offensive linemen, you need to fix that offensive line. That's the first thing you need to do. And if you get rid of Max Crosby, you have to also address your defensive line. But my priority, if I'm the Raiders, is helping out Fernando Mendoza. And you got to protect him. You had the worst offensive line in the NFL last year. That's what you got to do. And if you're the Bears, you fixed your offensive line last year, and your attention this year has to be on your defensive line. And if that means saying goodbye to DJ Moore and getting Max Crosby, Bears fans would do that. Like you mentioned, they have all the weapons behind DJ Moore to fill his spot, and you address Max Crosby. And if you have to give up your first-round pick this year, it's the 25th pick overall, and if you say that you're getting Max Crosby in return for that with a couple other picks, so be it. You're not drafting a better player in that spot than Max Crosby anyway, so do it. Make the move.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. So teams that are likely to have a new quarterback this upcoming season, it's probably the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins, and the Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a team we're missing? We'll talk about that next.
Westwood One, baby! Will Tua Tagovailoa jumpstart his career in a new city like Baker Mayfield did? We're tracking quarterbacks on the move and what it means for the NFL on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Raj and Laura for producing today's show, Bleck and Abdalla. Check out the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Odyssey. You can also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bleck and Abdalla Show. New videos posted daily on our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla Show. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, noon to 3 Eastern, right here on Westwood One Sports. Jim Rome coming up in about 16 minutes, right here on Westwood One Sports. So the teams that we know that will need a new quarterback, we have the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals and the Dolphins both are reportedly wanting to trade their quarterback, so they need quarterbacks. Is there anyone besides those three teams, Jets, Dolphins, Cardinals, that catches your eye that need a new quarterback for next season? And we know right now, there's a couple teams that, like, they kind of have quarterbacks. Like the Vikings have a quarterback. They want a better quarterback.
Yeah.
The Browns have quarterbacks.
They have a lot of quarterbacks.
They have quarterbacks at the position. I'm guessing they would like better quarterbacks.
They don't have any choice though, because they're stuck with the Deshaun Watson.
Do we know is Aaron Rodgers playing this year? Has he seen his shadow? Did he come out of his hole?
No, not yet.
His
he's
ayahuasca hole.
He's still in the darkness.
Did he see his shadow yet?
That's March 2nd.
Are we going to get another season of Aaron Rodgers or not?
No, the February 2nd is Groundhog Day. March 2nd is Aaron Rodgers Day.
Aaron Rodgers Day. He pops out of his hole, and if he sees the shadow, he goes back into the hole for more ayahuasca. And if he sees the sun, then he says, "Yes, I'm going to be a Steeler." Then
I'll be at OTAs. If he does see his shadow, then it's after training camp.
Is there anyone else that we're missing that needs a new quarterback that we're not talking about?
I think it's just maybe the Vikings. And then you have a big blank spot for anybody that gets injured, because that always happens. Someone always gets injured. And so there's always teams that are waiting around. I mean, we heard Derek Carr say last week on his own podcast that someone did call, but he had to say no because they weren't going to win a championship, and we figured out that it was the Colts. Like, we deduced. We used our detective work.
Sure.
That it was the Colts. So if you're it's got to just be the Vikings looking for some form of veteran backup, and how good that veteran backup is going to be to push J.J. McCarthy is going to be the question mark. Is that a Kirk Cousins who has a familiarity with the organization, obviously, he had a lot of success with that organization? Does he come in? And I don't think Kirk Cousins wants to be just a backup. I think if he comes in, he's going to want to compete for the starting spot. And so, or do they make a trade for Kyler Murray? And if they do that, he's instantly the starter. Like, you're not taking on a $56 million contract to not be the starter over J.J. McCarthy. So
yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Now, if it's Malik Willis, like we talked about last segment, that's a guy who you have a competition with. If it's Mac Jones, that's a guy you have a competition with. That's it. I would say the Browns, even if Deshaun Watson isn't ready or isn't good enough when he comes back, you still have Shedeur Sanders. You still have Dylan Gabriel. Like, you have quarterbacks there that have played in games that would be your starter. The Steelers, even if you don't have Aaron Rodgers there, the belief is that McCarthy can develop someone, whether it's Mason Rudolph, whether they sign Malik Willis. He's developed quarterbacks before, so he can, whoever they sign, he'll just develop.
Yeah,
or they can draft. Like, there was a mock draft last week from Field Yates that had them drafting Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. Wouldn't surprise me if they draft someone and he tries to develop them, even if Aaron Rodgers is there. They might say, "Hey, Aaron, you're here. We don't know for how long. I'm drafting a quarterback in the second round, just so you know."
I mean, that's kind of how you have to approach it if you're the Steelers. You can't, like, you can say for one season, one more ride, McCarthy and Rodgers, here we go. You can do that this upcoming season.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing Pittsburgh will have some success. They got to the playoffs this past season, so it worked. You can't go into it long term thinking that this is going to be a solution beyond next season, though. So if that is drafting a quarterback this year to be behind, or as some of the other conversations, I think it was Tanner McKee that we saw suggested perhaps could be traded to Pittsburgh, and he would be a guy that would be behind Aaron Rodgers. That all makes a lot of sense, but they do have to start planning for the future, because Rodgers is not that.
No.
Aaron Rodgers isn't the future of the Steelers. He's the now. And that the Steelers can win next season with Aaron Rodgers whenever he decides whether or not he's going to play or if he's going to do more ayahuasca or whether or not his wife exists. The whole thing. We don't know. We don't know. It's all up in the air with Aaron Rodgers.
She exists.
Does she?
Yes.
Do people know?
Yes.
I think it's hilarious that there were.
She's going to make your NBA experience more personable.
Oh, you think she's AI?
No, that's not what I just said. She might be a part of that.
I just think it's funny that there were Steelers wives who were saying that they've never seen or met the person, and he is married to someone.
Allegedly.
I just think it's
interesting. They said that. That's fact that the Steelers' wives did say that.
Yeah, that's what they said during the season, that they've never met.
Yes.
Brittany with an I.
Brittany with an I and a heart over the I.
Yes. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So the franchise tags will go out tomorrow, or it's the first time a team can tag a player here in the offseason. So we'll see how that kind of shapes up tomorrow as we have the window opening for the franchise tags. That's tomorrow. That window goes until March 3rd. Coming up next week, the NFL Combine. So we're right here in the thick of NFL off-season conversations. Free agency starts March 9th. March 11th is the date that teams can announce their free agent signings. And then the draft is at the end of April in Pittsburgh. So there's a lot to kind of look at here with the NFL off-season. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports.
Is this going to be a different kind of combine, you think? Because normally you have all these quarterbacks at the top of the draft.
Quarterback palooza?
And normally all of them are like, not going to throw. Come to my pro day.
So do guys throw to try and drum up a little
I feel
excitement?
like all these guys have to work.
That would be nice.
To get drafted higher. Like a couple of them were in the Senior Bowl. Like a lot of these guys have to work harder, I think, to up their draft stock and maybe climb into the late first round, in the second round. Some of these guys want to get drafted higher. I feel like we're going to get more of these guys working in the combine to kind of boost their stock a little bit.
Before we hand it off to the Jim Rome Show today here on Westwood One Sports, let's get an official Bleck Abdalla Olympic update. The Winter Olympics are taking place in Milan Cortina. I believe it's, the 35th Olympiad, the Winter Games. Norway leads the medal count with 27, Italy with 22, and the United States at 17. Although the women's hockey team for the U.S., with a big win today over Sweden, 5-0 earlier today.
Shout out.
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
It doesn't help when you say it after the announcement.
Oh, yeah.
But Abdalla here, some of the items that we take very seriously with the Winter Games that caught my eye over the weekend, a couple of items. One, the Olympic Village for the athletes. They ran out of condoms.
Again?
Yes.
Every 2 years we deal with this. You'd think they'd plan better.
One would think.
Get a couple of boxes, more boxes.
I'm also shocked because, how much free time do these athletes have?
A lot.
I mean, I think that you would be preparing for the competition.
No, this is after. You're waiting for your flights. You're waiting for your other teammates to be done. This is after.
You're just hanging around the village?
I don't think they're doing much hanging.
Go home.
No, they have to wait for the other teammates to finish.
No, I'm going to stay for the closing ceremonies. Why wouldn't
I? I don't think there's a lot of that either.
Could you imagine if you're an athlete and your event takes place night one
of
the Olympics,
and
then you're there for 15 more days.
Open up an app.
Why are you still here?
Start swiping.
Well, I want to be here for the closing ceremonies.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, you want to walk.
Sure. So that was a story that broke over the weekend, is that there were not enough condoms in the Olympic Village. But don't worry. Apparently, new shipments of condoms are on their way.
Oh, yeah?
For the second week.
Okay.
Hopefully, they will get more shipments in.
They can't
to the
just
Olympic
go to
Village.
a store?
I don't know. I don't
okay.
what are people? Is it like a dish open in the hallway?
It's gotta be.
People are taking handfuls.
It's gotta be.
Shoving them in their pockets.
It's gotta be.
So that's one story. And then there's also a controversy.
Oh, we've got more news on this, by the way.
With the curling events. What's going on? There's touching of the stone?
Curling controversy widens as Britain is now accused of the same infraction as Canada.
Not the Brits!
The curling controversy at the Winter Olympics has widened as the British men's team has been accused of the same alleged violation that burned the Canadians 2 days in a row.
Touching with the finger?
It's called the double touch.
The double touch.
The double touch. And again, all you get for this is a verbal warning.
A little slap on the wrist.
A little slap on the wrist and sorry, we won't do it again.
So what it is when you see the curler who's like on there, he's like sliding, or she's sliding, and then they let go of the stone.
Mm-hmm.
As the stone is leaving their hand, with a finger, as they pull their hand away, they get a little extra touch.
A little double touch.
A little double touch on the stone.
Yeah. So they're using video replay to hopefully deter this, but now this controversy is sweeping the curling world.
All right, so we'll keep our eyes on that, and that's your Winter Olympic update, official Winter Olympic update on the Bleck Abdalla Show right here on Westwood One and the Westwood One Sports app. Jim Rome and the Jim Rome Show is coming up next right here on Westwood One Sports.
This is Westwood One Sports.